And hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast, the only video game show. So today we have a bit of a crossover. A friend of mine from the other bonkers thing that I do has come over to this show to talk video games. We have recurring guest from Gotta Recap 'Em All, Carolyn. Hello, Carolyn.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Pretty good. So yeah, I'll start for all the people listening at home. Elliot, just a brief introduction of yourself.
Okay, let's see. I am a freelance journalist. I've written for Screen Rant, Get Fandom, Superhero Hype, as well as Marvel Report, which is an independently founded fan site where I kind of cut my teeth and got my start.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am a regular podcaster with the DCTV Podcast Network. Um, right now, currently on hiatus as a podcaster because of that. I've got a few little ovens in the fire, a few little projects, putting an oven in the fire, a few little projects cooking, and I love video games, and I never get a chance to actually talk or engage with video games as much as I'd like to. So this is a lot of fun.
Okay, and yeah, to get down to it, when did you first discover video games?
I had to have been 5 or 6, and I'm old. I'm ancient. Yesterday was my birthday. In fact, I just turned 34, and so I started with the classics. I started with Duck Hunt, and I started with Nintendo and Super Mario, and from there it just kind of picked up. My family has always been very nerdy, so while I wasn't a console person until I got older, I had friends with consoles that I would regularly play. I had and my biggest introduction were the Nintendo Game Boys and the Nintendo systems, and also the GameCube. Those were my glory days. And then right now, I have a PS4, I have a PS5 on order, and I also spend way too much time on my Switch Lite. So I tend to collect interesting consoles after the past year because I think we all got into video games a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I did.
Right? I
And
mean,
oh, you go ahead.
well, no, I'm sorry. I was going to say, right? I mean, there's when you're sitting there and you're stuck and you got nothing to do, the great thing about it is that they provide separate and different worlds for you to go to. I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of fun.
And what would you say was your favorite game and or games growing up?
Resident Evil, hands down, the Resident Evil series has had the most impact on me.
Mm-hmm.
I started with two. I worked my way to one. I played them all on the GameCube, and in fact, I have a brother, and my brother likes to tell the story about when he was young and curious, and he wandered into me playing my GameCube with Resident Evil, and then complained to my parents that I was playing a scary video game, and I shouldn't have to because he was little and he could wander in at any moment and see the zombies. And for a while, he was genuinely scared of zombies, apparently because of Resident Evil 2. And when you think of the graphics, I know, right? When you think of the graphics, you're like, are you really scared of it? Okay. All right. You do you, boo boo. Um, but I just bought 8 and I've been playing 8 and I absolutely adore 8. And I treated myself to the
Mm-hmm.
extra special special edition so that I could get the bonus stuff because that's my series. That's my survival horror series, the one that I'm most known for. But yeah, so that's my big game.
Yep. I finally started dipping my toe into scary games by buying Resident Evil 7.
You picked a good one. I mean, that's the start of not a soft reboot necessarily, but it's definitely a direction of the universe that we haven't explored before. What do you think of it?
That's good. I kind of want to punch Ethan Winters in the face.
That's a common that is a common thought, especially, you spend most of 7 thinking about what the guy looks like, and then in 8, you get to see him, and you sit there and you look at him, and no spoilers for anybody who hasn't played the game yet, but I found myself definitely rooting for Heisenberg and Lady Dimitrescu, whose name I can never pronounce because the internet knows her as super tall boob
Yeah,
lady,
yeah, as they should.
as they should.
Yeah.
No,
So,
she could step on me at any time, but because the whole game at this point, it's just that they were just having fun with it. But the thing with 7 is truly scary. It takes you back. I mean, once you wait until you get into the stuff with 1 through 6, where it becomes less of a creepy game and more of a shoot 'em up, first person shooter game, which they always were. But you need the survival horror mechanic in it to make it something different than, say, Call of Duty. And for me, at least, by 6, it turned into Call of Duty. But that's neither here nor there.
okay, and we got a bit of an answer already, but what is your favorite game and or games now?
Well, I have a couple. Um, I've been playing a lot of the really sort of hashtag soft games on the Switch. Um, I've been playing, Animal Crossing and Pokemon Snap and Stardew Valley and those really fluffy feel good games.
Hmm.
And I also decided to own that I'm a Five Nights at Freddy's fan. So I worked my way through from 1 to 6,
Oh
Pizza
dear.
Simulator. Yeah, and I feel terrible admitting that as an adult because it really is a kid's game, even though when you think about it, like I got a funny story for you, friend. I got a funny story. So my first encounter with this game, I was at my job, and at my
Hmm.
job, I work in a restaurant, and I see one of the kids with the little stuffed animals. Okay, and I look at the little stuffed animal, and I look at the kid, and I, you know, strike up a conversation. I go, "Oh, what's that?" And the kid looks at me, and he says, "This is Mangle." And I'm like, "Well, that's a weird name for stuffed animal." Okay, and I'm like, "Well, who's Mangle?" And the kid looks at me and says, "Mangle has a dead child in it." And I look at the dad, and I look at the dad, and I look at the kid, and I look at the dad, and the dad looks so embarrassed because apparently the look on my face said, "What the hell is wrong with you?" You just got this little stuff thing with it, and I'm like, how is this? And it still mystifies me that it's a kids game. But I think it's like Pokemon. I think that it's fine as long as you have boundaries and you recognize that there's spaces for young people in it. And they get first pick, they get first dibs, and the
Hmm.
rest of us, when it comes to more adult games, I think it's a different thing. Like that kid with his Mangle toy, if he wanted to play Resident Evil, cool, but I would sort of be like, okay, well, this is something I know more about. But as far as, games meant for younger folks, I'd just be like, okay, that's you. You're doing your thing. I'm going to sit and I'm going to listen and enjoy the ride.
All right then. And like, even though we're just about to get through to the halfway point of the year, what would you say has been your game of the year so
Um,
far?
so far, well, in November we've got Pokemon Legends coming out, so that's definitely going to
Hmm.
be one of my that's definitely going to be a contender for me. I love the idea of the remakes, but Legends with God Horse with
Yep.
Legends with God Horse is going to be up there. Security Breach is also going to be up there. That's supposed to come out later this year. So far, I am going to have to go with, oh gosh, what was I playing? Hades game. I think Hades game is probably, and I know it's from last year, but we didn't really do anything with it last year. Hades game has been my personal game of the year in terms of what I've been playing most. But in terms of recent releases, I think it's 8, Resident Evil 8. I don't think that there's been a bigger cultural impact, but it's a toss up, man. It's a toss up because it's either 8 or it's Pokemon Snap, because Pokemon Snap, while I know the fandom doesn't really like it that much, I think it's very calming. And for people who are just getting into that, I mean, I was always the fighting games. I've played every single one. I played
Hmm.
Diamond, I played Pearl, I played Red, I played Blue, I played Yellow. And then I played both last year. I played both Sword and Shield. Everyone's like, "Well, you're only supposed to get one," and I'm like, "Well, I bought both. Leave me alone." So, because you can get different Pokemon with both, and maybe you don't know people that you want to trade with, so you can get your fairy Ponyta and live your best life because that's an awesome Pokemon, and
Yeah.
you right, and you can get your oh, I forget what the exclusive was in the other one, but you can get your exclusives and have your cake and eat it too. So I did that. But yeah, as far as games of the year, I think I'm gonna have to go with 8, just in terms of gameplay, in terms of story, and in terms of cultural impact
Hmm.
so far.
Yeah. Mine so far would probably be Pokemon Snap and Little Nightmares 2.
Little Nightmares 2 is terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't like that they haven't shared a lot of the world yet. Like, you do see things, but I want them to dig into the lore a little bit. I almost want them to,
Yeah.
because I want to understand it. Like, just, oh, it's so wild.
Oh, goodness me. It was haunting.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, before we started this, Carolyn, you said you had some topics you wanted to bring up for this.
Well, yeah. So mostly, I think what I want to talk about, you mentioned Snap.
Hmm.
So let's talk Snap because I really don't think enough people are appreciating this game. Um, what do you think of Snap?
I'm gonna sneeze. And I'm fine. I loved it. It's just very different from a lot of the games I've been playing recently because, like Little Nightmares 2, that's just like, just like not so much scary so much as it is like despair in a video game trappings. And, I've been playing games like D- Doom Eternal, where you're the Doom guy, and like it's so utterly calming. And yeah, I just love it. I love just well, because as you know, like since Tom and I have just, completely gone off the deep end and will someday cover the entirety of the Pokemon anime canon.
Yes.
Um, like one of the things we do is in the episodes is look for like the little moments, like we see like the Pokemon playing with each other. You observe like behaviors that the Pokemon do, like in the anime when Togepi goes to sleep, it's little head spikes that look like hair, just like kind of fold in so that its head is egg shaped and its limbs just kind of slink in. And you see like and the Pokemon behave like like their animals are superpowers basically, and being able to see that on like a scale like Pokemon Snap is awesome.
No, yeah, and I think that the interactions, especially as you progress, taking better shots. I think that the interactions are going to be even like they just keep getting cuter and cuter because as you progress through one of the things and then gradually you start to see like Scorbunny and then you see Pikachu kind of chilling with each other. And then you see
Hmm.
them playing games, and then you get Groki comes in, and Groki's got his little drum, and it's so sweet and it's so wholesome, and it's the game I always end up playing right before I fall asleep because I can just fall asleep to it. I mean, that's how good it is. Um, but as far as Pokemon, I don't think people give it enough credit. I know. Have you heard that I've heard, and I admittedly forget where, that there's some animosity between people who like the old Pokemon Snap and the new Pokemon Snap. Now, have I completely misread that, or is that a debate?
I have not heard of this at all, but I've just ever since Pokemon Sword and Shield came out, I've tried to insulate myself from internet discussions about Pokemon games.
Yes, that's fair. I mean, the Sword and Shield for me, I really liked it. I did think that there were pieces of it that were probably easier than they had to be. I was used to working much harder to level stuff up, but for now, I thought that, they did a remake or a patch, they could probably update it and it would probably be a lot better. Um, and then I guess the only other thing that I really wanted to talk about was the Switch Pro and my desperate hope that I'll be able to put all of the games I spent last year collecting on my regular Switch, because I have a regular Switch and I have my other Switch, but my regular Switch I mostly use for Animal Crossing and sometimes for Pokemon, and also for Ring Fit, which I love. I hope that my regular Switch will still be viable somehow so that I don't have to rebuy everything.
Ah,
But
yeah.
that's basically it. Those were my two big things, because as far as fandom goes, I could go on and on about, I could go on and on about FNAF. I could go on and on about Resident Evil. Oh, I know. What do you think of Pokemon Legends?
Um, I'm excited for it just because it seems awesome, and honestly, I'm interested to see that if, Arceus, who, just for anyone listening to this is not hyperbole when I say it, is God, capital G, like how Aslan in the Chronicles of Narnia books literally is Jesus. Like, just, like, oh, it gets even weirder in the movies when he brings his wrath down and tries to end the age of the human. But that's a story for another day. But
What if uh, what if Horse God is Aslan's dad?
I mean, in the books he does say his dad is the emperor beyond the sea, and we don't know where that sea leads. But yeah, it looks neat.
I'm I'm
It's,
I'm What do you think about an open world Pokemon game? I mean, they kind of are, but like being able to explore it by yourself is you think that's going to be a game changer?
hmm, I think it could be. I mean, I think with like in the past like 3 years, we've gotten Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and then we got the remake to Link's Awakening, which was also very much, I get, in demand. And so I feel like there is room for like the open world Zelda, but like, and there's also just always going to be this huge, massive niche for like the more traditional puzzle solving like 8 dungeons type of stuff. So I think the same will be true for Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that I agree. 100% agree. I hope to see more tie-in. Something, I mean, they have a real opportunity to like launch some new canon and some new lore as far as games go with Arcturus and with Legends. So I hope that, we'll see a little bit more of a pickup as far as that's concerned, because, I could delve into FNAF and I could talk about how Security Breach has been more delayed than ton of other stuff. I can't even think about it. But the thing is that I'll bet they're delaying it because they're going to introduce a bunch of new lore and a bunch of other stuff. And Pokemon's much more established series, and they should take the opportunity to do the same. Just and we're more than just new Pokemon, like new mechanics and new stuff like that too. Know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. So. anything else you'd like to bring to the table today?
Mostly, gosh, I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on 8 because I'm still
Mhm.
stuck on Resident Evil 8 because I just beat Giant Boob Lady. And I don't think we talk. It's a crime. It's an absolute crime because they give you a lot, and I can talk about this without spoilers. In the game, they give you a lot of very specific lore to a completely new part of the Resident Evil universe.
Mhm.
And there's yeah, and because most of Resident Evil deals with the Umbrella Corporation, it deals with eugenics, it deals with Oswald Spencer and everybody else who's like, well, what if we made a virus that would make humanity perfect and all this other stuff? But it's interesting to talk to you because you're coming in with 7, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're coming in with 7. 7 is definitely a reboot, and you have a real opportunity for people who are fans of the game and who have been for years, like myself. I mean, very deep, and I will not tell anyone where or what my name is. Very deep on the internet is my fanfiction.net account that was full of Resident Evil fanfiction. And no, there's the computer where the IP is long gone, and the name will never be uttered or spoken. But I love that series, but it's so different. So when you look at Giant Boob Lady, and she does, I can't. Her name is Lady Demetress, Lady Demetress of House Demetress, and she has a very fascinating backstory. And the other characters in the village do too. So it goes back to what I was saying about lore. Going forward, I think that you need more indie games, but if you're gonna do stuff with a main title, like
Mhm.
like Resident Evil or like Five Nights at Freddy's or like Pokemon, you need to either introduce some new characters and set aside the nostalgia. Like I will bet you folding money that as cool as Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are going to be, they're not going to do the banking on the nostalgia. They're not going to do as well as Sword and Shield, and they're definitely not going to do as well as Legends. Just for an example, because nostalgia works. I just think that there might come a time much sooner than people think where they want to see newer stuff, or at least I'd hope they would. I have faith. I would like to have faith that the gaming community, whatever game you're into, be it Mario or anything else, would like to see if you're gonna see the original characters, you want to see them do different things. And I'm so behind on Mario. I have like a 3D All Stars, and I have Luigi's Mansion, and I have Mario Maker, and I have not touched any of them. But I think that if you're going to do the original characters, you have to do something new, or you have to pass the franchise on, which is what they did with 8 in Resident Evil, and what they're doing with Security Breach, and what they're doing with a bunch of other stuff. So, what I would like to leave the audience with, what I'd like to leave you with, is a question: Is nostalgia the way to go for games to you, or as we progress to new consoles, should we pass it on to newer characters? I mean, and Spider-Man's another really good example. Have you played Spider-Man?
I tried to, but I didn't. It wasn't something I very much cared for.
That's fair. But the Miles DLC the Spider-Man game did really well. But the Miles DLC was a lot more creative. I mean, Miles DLC had Spider Cat, which was this cat, and you picked him up. He was a bodega cat. And you'd pick him up and you'd throw him at your enemies. And it's this orange fluffy cat that you just chucked at people. And the cat would fight back, and it was amazing. So bringing in new characters, and having some of the older characters take a back seat to me is what I'd like to see. But do you agree? How do you feel about the concept of, you know, nostalgia or just putting the same characters through their hoops over and over again?
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure if I'm the person to ask that. Sounds like the only the only franchises I've consistently been playing recently are the Dragon Quests and pretty much anything with Mario or Luigi in it. So I don't really know.
Well, what did you think of them sort of Bowser's whole new thing? I mean, do you think that that worked for the character?
Oh, I haven't played Bowser's Fury yet.
Okay. Okay, well, it's something to think about progress as video games, and as you delve into more franchises. I mean, I'm really happy to hear somebody else is getting into Resident Evil because, as I'm sure anybody in the series can tell, anybody listening can tell, that's one of my favorite games. So yeah,
Yeah. All right. So, anything else you want to talk about while we're here?
well, I've talked your ear off about with my games and my stuff. I mean, what's your game of the? I mean, you said your game of the year so far. How did you get interested in video games?
Oh, this is way back in the ancient year of when I was 8. Let's see. Well, my brother was always the video game person. This, and a friend of mine, he was able to get pretty much most of the games that were hot lately. And yeah, I remember just watching my brother play games a lot, the Mega Man games especially. The thing that got me hooked is I would go over to a friend's house and we would play, the first Paper Mario game on the N64, which is amazing just because it's Mario, but it's in the story and you're wandering around places where these weird fantasy creatures live and you're just interacting with, there's like a town square with the toads and Mario meets a family of Goombas, and they named their firstborn son Goombario in honor of Mario. And you actually talk with you talk with the NPCs that in the past games have been only enemies. But the thing that really got sunk its hooks into me in terms of being a video game is when I got my GameCube and I played Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which is just that's the game that made me fall in love with games. Just oh my goodness, like it looked beautiful. It had a frigging creepy ass story. I love the partners just as much. Like and and just turn it back to the stuff I knew now. It's the first time like let's see, at the time 13-year-old me was introduced to concepts because in pretty much every version of the game except America, because of course America, um Vivian, the purple shadow girl, who's Beth girl, we find out in like all not pretty much all non-American versions that she's transgender, and that in the game her bitch of a sister who's really small and has a tiny hat and you could probably kick. Whereas in the American version she just sticks to the generic you're ugly insults, whereas in all the others she purposefully misgenders her explicitly. And that's the first time I 13-year-old me it was framed in a context that a 13-year-old kid who's obsessed with video games could understand. And that's always in terms of like LGBT plus characters in games, that always stuck with me because like I love that game to death, and just because like Sesame Street, it introduced it in a way that doesn't feel like you're being talked down to.
Yes, yes. I think that I'll admit I haven't played the game, even though I'm familiar with the character, but it is really gratifying. I did not know that Mario had been progressive like that, and that honestly makes me want to purchase it. So Nintendo, if you're listening, do me a favor and keep making things like that happen because, especially going into Pride Month, we need more characters like that. Unfortunately, the only characters I'm really happy to hear somebody that has that kind of connection. I could finger
Yeah,
point and yeah. So I'm really that's actually really awesome. I'm gonna have to definitely play the game for that because the she's really cute. I did not know that that was how she was coded or how she was coded though. That's very cool.
you probably need to look like all of that stuff I said is not in the American version, so you'll have to go to like Super Mario Wiki to get the rest of it.
Okay, can definitely do that. Um, but yeah, I would honestly, as an aside, if you ever wanted to do a Pride episode about video game characters that were LGBT for folks, I am non-binary. I am transgender.
Mm-hmm.
I lean much more towards trans masculine,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love to be able to talk about representation and how and I think we should all make a point of that this Pride to talk about good representation in indie games or fans that pick a lot of that just kind of take characters and own it and
Well,
make such an enduring.
now we have an idea for an episode. Now we have an idea for an episode for
Yes.
June, which is in almost 2 hours. So yeah, we'll have to plan that. Uh,
Yes, absolutely.
so yeah. Oh, and here come my brother's dogs.
This was a lot of fun. If you did invite me back, invite me back so we can talk Pride game or Pride characters because I'd love that.
I'll have to. I could think of a few friends who I think would probably be interested in coming back for that. And
Yes.
I'm sure you could get a list. So yeah. So anything else before we start
Uh,
wrapping this up?
no, I think that's it. No, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure for him to come on, and especially now that we have a Pride episode planned that I'm sort of unintentionally inviting myself to.
Yeah. I
But yeah,
mean,
I think this was a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
yeah. And I guess that'll bring us to the conclusion of this particular episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast. I'd like to thank Carolyn for joining me and saying words about video games. And Carolyn, what types of things of yours that you've done would you like to shamelessly plug?
Um, well, I have right now, I am in a small creative hiatus, but I am writing for the Marvel Report. So you guys can check that out at the Marvel Report on Twitter. I, as always, have archives of my work. You can follow me on Twitter at Carolyn CarolynNIN Fandom, or Dom. I know my Twitter handle. I know how to do things. And mostly right now, where I've been the most active actually is my TikTok. So if you guys are on TikTok, follow me over at Caroline CarolIng .cosplay dot COS for cosplay on TikTok, and you guys can. Watch me, I cosplay podcast characters. I cosplay video. I'm moving into cosplaying video game characters. I actually have a Professor Mirror cosplay planned from Pokemon Snap, so I'm really excited about making that happen.
Okay. And yeah, if you enjoyed hearing me say words, then and you
Yes,
want
you
to hear
did. You did. Everybody,
and you want to hear some more of my words, you can like and subscribe to this channel that you're listening on to this stuff on. Yeah. And if any of you have any monies you want to give me, you can go to patreon.com/thepumpkincoptercast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can submit questions for me to use in interviews on the times when I actually remember to like post that and tell my Patreons to do that. And if you want to follow me on the social medias, you can either look for at @tgorman83 or just type in Big Debbie. Um, yeah, where I just post video game things, shamelessly plug my stuff, and go into way too much detail about this sort of original character family I've created that sprung from a joke on my brother, and me, and is just kind of spiraled out of control.
love
And
it.
yeah, this has been the Pumpkin Copter Cast, and as I say at the end of every show, have a gourd day, everyone.
Have a gourd day.